Hi, this is Logan, Dr. Tom's podcast producer. Sunday Morning Cafe events are like mini retreats, featuring live music, a thoughtful, research-informed talk, guided discussions, and refreshments. If you'd like tickets for the next event or would like to donate to the mission, you'll find all the details in the show notes and at sundaymorningcafe.com.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you? 30 shy 1%.
When Snow on the Roof Means Fire in the Belly. Read by me, Tom Wagner, its author. In her podcast, Wiser Than Me, host Julia Louise-Dreyfus interviews famous women whom she knows to be older and believes to be wiser than her. As you might imagine, the former Elaine from Seinfeld and Selena Meyer from Veep is both funny and salty, and often enough, she facilitates a wise exchange. In each episode, she asks her guests, "Do you feel as old as you are?" Uniformly, the likes of Carol Burnett, who's 92, Diana Nyhead, 76, and Glenn Close, 78, have reported feeling decades younger than their birth certificates would predict. Such an interesting question. Do I feel my age? Like Louise-Dreyfus, I'm in the youth of my old age. I'm 66. But depending upon the day, my answer to that question is liable to tilt one way, and then again, it might just tilt in the other direction. Last Sunday, one of Charles Dickens' ghosts from my potential future visited me in the living room of my mom's memory care facility. On the way to her room, the communal TV was playing a classic 1990s movie. A sweet, familiar hypnosis kicked in. I noticed my footfalls slowing, stopping. Like flies to a glue trap, my eyes got stuck. In a mesmerized voice, I thought to myself, now, why was I in such a hurry to get to Mom's room anyway? And it wouldn't be so bad living in a place like this, would it? For a sobering moment, I caught a glimpse of a potential future that could come to pass if I'm not careful. Like my mom's fellow 70, 80, and 90-year-old colleagues, I loves me some good TV time. Many nights, I'll nod off to the soporific sounds of Netflix or Amazon Prime. Often enough, I have to ask myself, what was I watching just before I blacked out last night? I'm at a funny age. It's as if there's two guys vying for control of my inner boardroom. There's the part of me dressed in gym clothes that notices the deficits caused by 2 recent hip replacement surgeries that says, time to get to work, time to win back our health. That part of me feels way younger than 66. However, there's another part that notices the same deficits and imagines what a sweet ride a tricked-out lazy boy recliner would be on a cold winter's night or maybe just any night. Along the same lines, Jim Guy got so excited about the free tickets Lisa scored for our presentation given by thought leader and storyteller Malcolm Gladwell the other night. When the other guy, recliner guy, heard the same news, he started grousing about cold weather parking in downtown St. Louis and missing his programs. Like I said, sometimes I feel my age, sometimes I don't. Revisiting last week's article. Last week, I wrote about the experience of going to a church-sponsored prayer service down the street from an ICE detention facility in St. Genevieve, Missouri. Just before the goings-on, the gym guy in me observed that I was bobbing in a sea of gray hair. He said, "What is this, an early bird special? Ha ha." Before the semi-humorous thought was even finished, my inner recliner guy retorted, "Do you even look in the mirror?" Seeing the obvious truth in this retort, Gym Guy fell silent, which is not a bad way to enter into a prayer service after all. Once I settled in and the service commenced, the words of 3 women who serve as pen pals to at least a score of the 200 detainees penetrated first my sarcasm and then my heart. Ever since then, I found myself on something of a pilgrimage. I've been discerning what a guy in my age and stage in life might do to thoughtfully and prayerfully respond to this heart-rending situation of dads and husbands being removed from their families and being detained, most often without due process under the law. Navigating a threshold. Starting with Erik Erikson's research, developmental psychology has observed that successful passage through midlife is discovered only retrospectively. That's when a 60-something seasoned soul will notice an inner movement towards something that Erikson called generativity. Now, I'm not sure Erikson would have used a term like spirituality to describe generativity, but I will. When the midlife chapter concludes successfully, generativity looks like a desire to encourage and mentor the next generation of younger adults. Generativity expresses itself in a longing to nurture an ever-widening community. In other words, a desire grows to leave the world better for having occupied it. People who have successfully navigated this threshold might look like my octogenarian friend Lynn, who tutors low socioeconomic rural preschoolers. She wants them reading at grade level when first grade starts. It might look like my friend Gordon, a septuagenarian athlete and track coach who mentors college athletes like the most loving but firm and competent grandpa you ever laid eyes on. It looks like 400 gray hairs gathered outside an ICE detention center on an ice-cold rural Missouri morning. They gathered around a shared conviction that their pooled soul force has the power to pull our culture in a more loving, just, and merciful direction. When snow on the roof means fire in the belly. Rather than following the gravitational pull of their inner recliner guy or gal, these evergreen men and women got out of their rocking chairs and invested themselves in forming a pop-up beloved community. You recognize that term? It may sound familiar. It comes from Martin Luther King Jr. King's term, the beloved community, describes those who invest their gritty love in shaping a just and merciful society that's worthy of their children and their grandchildren, as well as a just and merciful society for the children and grandchildren of those they oppose and hope to convert. I'd like to conclude this article with a passage from Francis Weller's book, In the Absence of the Ordinary, Soul Work for Times of Uncertainty. In his words, the immediate need of our time is for ripened and seasoned adult human beings to take their place in our communities. Individuals who carry a deep and abiding fidelity to the living body of this benevolent earth, to beauty, and to their own souls. Traditionally, these were the ones who had successfully crossed a series of initiatory thresholds and had come through as protectors and carriers of the communal soul. They were the ones whose artistry and wisdom kept the current culture alive. We live in a society that has all but abandoned rituals of initiation. Consequently, we are languishing from the absence of mature and robust adults. Now, this next section, you can turn off this podcast and go to the blog. If you do that, you'll see these questions written out, and you can consider those in dialogue with a small group, with someone else, or just use them as questions for reflection. If you stay on this podcast, I will read those for you right now. Question 1. What stood out for you in this article? What resonated with you? And what may have caused some dissonance for you? Question 2. In the just mentioned quote, Weller described the need for ripened and seasoned adults. Our youth-oriented culture frequently mistakes ripened and seasoned for obsolete. Would you be willing to reimagine your advanced years as a necessary condition for thoughtful, prayerful, non-reactive leadership in a culture that is starving for wisdom? Third question. If you happen to be a young adult or someone in midlife, who are the wisdom figures you look to as examples and mentors? What is it that you find in them? How frequently do you gather with them? Do they call out of you vulnerability to speak at a heart-to-heart level? And are they willing to share their vulnerability with you? Next question. Regardless of your age or stage in life, how do you feed the root system that nourishes your soul? Final question. What do you think Weller means by rituals of initiation? Can you imagine creating these rituals for your friends or family members?
Dr. Tom's producer, Logan, here again with a quick note. If you'd like tickets for the next Sunday Morning Cafe event, or would like to donate to support the mission, you'll find all the details in the show notes and at sundaymorningcafe.com.